So, you're Jim Gurnett, and you've worn many hats when it comes to housing. What are some of the involvements that you've had in the community as an advocate for housing?
Well, the major one is for all the years that I've been involved with Edmonton Coalition on Housing and Homelessness as a member for many years. When the organizations I was with, I was representing them, and then as an individual member, and then for the past 5-6 years or more, I also did on contract work for them, and I was their communication spokesperson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so lots of involvement. And then at the years I was at Edmonton Mennonite Centre for Newcomers, we developed the first refugee supported long-term housing in actually anywhere in Canada. So, and I've been on national bodies, and yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. And you don't live in McCauley currently, but you did at one point.
Right. Yeah.
Did issues regarding housing and homelessness affect you personally in any way while you were living here?
Well, I would say the visibility of people who were homeless and moved through or were temporarily in the neighborhood was certainly something I came in contact with every day and was aware of. The issues around watching the kind of gentrification of places that were kind of low-cost landlord-operated rental facilities becoming owned properties and no longer available for the really low-end housing. But at the same time, the shift that implied of housing becoming available for another group of people. So yeah, I would say I saw lots of evidences of housing from the extreme of people that had no shelter at all to people that were developing really nice, interesting places to live in the neighborhood.
What do you think are some things that McCauley has done over the years that can be an example to other neighborhoods?
Well, I mean, it has to some extent been appreciative and welcomed low-income, affordable housing, both supported and just low rent. I mean, organizations like Edmonton Inner City and Housing Society and E4C have been able to develop really, really good, effective, useful housing projects or services here in the community. The possibility of co-op housing being explored by people here, and maybe I think also even some for-profit housing initiatives. You know, that there was lower cost land available, and so people could also look at how do we get entry-level housing for people that don't have a lot of money but have some money to become homeowners. And also in the home ownership end of things, some of the very first buildings that Habitat for Humanity did were in McCauley. So it's offered a lot of opportunities for things to happen through the years.
What would you tell people who live in other neighborhoods who might have some fears associated with social housing coming into their area?
Oh, well, I mean, absolutely. I would say that the evidence is that well-managed social housing is good in every way for a neighborhood's health and well-being, and for the health and well-being of the individuals that take advantage of it and the people that live around. So
in what ways?
There's any question. Well, the evidence is all over North America, not just in Edmonton. The evidence is that communities will tend to be safer if they have good, well-managed social housing, because people who end up needing the benefits of social housing understand why they want their housing to be safe and secure, and so they approach watching out for problems a little more energetically than people might otherwise. It makes communities more walkable generally when there's low-income social housing in a community. And that generates an interest then in more local services. It can be good for small businesses. Have often complimented that when they're around social housing that they appreciate that they see a pickup on business because of that. So, yeah.
Why does housing need to be a citywide responsibility?
Well, from the human rights side of things, it's a responsibility of the whole community, because people should be able to choose where they want to live, and they should have a range of possibilities available to them and not be continually squeezed into a small number of communities that may not be their choices. I think it's a citywide responsibility as well, because we all benefit from living in communities that have diversity. So if there's never any people that are lower income people living anywhere around the community that we live in, we're more homogenized and we miss out on the learnings and benefits that come from diversity in communities. So,
what does a caring community mean to you?
A caring community. I think it would be a community where we understood that we're all in it together, that the things we do to make life happier and healthier for other people do come back to have positive benefit for us, and that the more we say I'm only going to care about myself, the more we actually create risk for ourselves in the long run. A caring community feels to me like the just way that we live together. You know, just is a word that has to do with there being balance and understanding that we need to be prepared to give as well as to take, and so caring communities have people that participate in both those things.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that the Coalition on Housing and Homelessness does every year is the Memorial for the Homeless.
Right.
Every year there seems to be about 40 men and women or thereabouts who pass away as a result of not having adequate shelter. Why do things like that happen in a city that's so abundant like Edmonton? Why does that happen?
Well, I think the biggest reason, it's the most dramatic evidence of much huger problems. And the major reason is because currently our society sees housing as a market issue. It doesn't see it as a social or a community issue. In the absence of any broad and comprehensive government policies and plans around housing, it's been left for the market. So housing is driven by who can afford what. And as soon as you do that, anybody that doesn't have the money to be able to find their housing at market levels is going to lose out. And the ones at the very bottom lose out to the level that it even endangers their lives.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you want to add that I haven't already asked about?
That's a tough question always. Well, I think the biggest thing I would say is that as long as we allow housing to be an expression of capitalism in our society, that the long-term costs of it to some part of the society, humanly and economically, are going to be far greater than if we understood housing as a social or a shared community issue, and we insisted on that fundamental right for every person to have a safe, secure, affordable, adequate place to call home.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.